Today we're doing something quite exciting. We're going to use a limited palette. So what I call a limited palette painting means that using possibly 2 colors, maybe 3, and but today we're going to use 2 colors. But I really want to show you is we've got cadmium orange hue and we've got ultramarine blue. And as you may know, they actually complementary colors, so they're opposite colors. So we have the color wheel, which is in a previous video, and you can see what happens here is we're going to be using opposite the color wheel. So it's orange there, cadmium orange, and ultramarine blue. All right. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a very simple landscape. So stick with me and let's see how we do. Of course, you must also remember that white is not a color. In our terms, we don't call white a color. It might be named a color, but it's not a color. It's a tinting medium. So essentially we're using blue and orange and white as our tinter. And in the landscape, you'll see we're going to use a lot of white and blue in the sky. We're going to use mixtures of orange and blue in the foreground, and we'll also be touching on things like perspective. So I've got my trusted palette knife. I'm actually going to mix onto the color wheel which was in a previous video. So there's my white. The other thing to say is we're using acrylic paint. So things dry pretty quickly with acrylic, especially in our atmosphere. So I'm taking my orange and I'm putting it this side. It makes sense to keep your orange on the same side as your color wheel. Okay. And we've said it in the past, when you make a color wheel like this, try and keep it the same format. Don't flip it this way or that way. I always remember my yellows on the top, my blues on the B. B comes before R, and there's my red, and there's my orange. So here's my blue, and we're going to use a larger brush to start with. Okay, and let me mix a little bit for you, and then you'll see what happens. When you're mixing, try to start with a lighter color first, which in this case is white. So I'm not going to get into the orange without spreading my white out. I'll spread my white out because the color has been sitting in the tube or it's sitting in the bottle and it wants to be moved. The color wants to be moved, so you're actually moving it. A little bit of orange to see what happens. Look at what happens there. Actually comes out like a peachy color. Not exactly what I want. I'm going to add more orange. Okay, I'm going to leave my orange brush there, and I'm going to bring across the blue into my white and see what happens again. So that's ultramarine blue and white. You get a tiny little bit of water because I can feel it's drying. Okay. So there we are. You have the range from white, light blue, getting darker and darker, and then ultramarine pure. The interesting thing about ultramarine, it's not U-L-T-R-A, ultra, it's actually O-L-T-R-A, ultra, which means from across the sea, when color was brought in from Afghanistan. So especially ultramarine is a very expensive pigment. Not anymore. You've got synthetic pigment to make up your ultramarine. So let's just put some more white in there and set that aside. I'm going to start with the sky. So what we're using is very high quality watercolor paper. I think it's 280 gram or 290 gram watercolor paper. And it really works nicely for a little sketch. This is really what we're doing, is we're experimenting and using it as a sketch. If it turns out to be a finished painting, fantastic. Okay, so there's my light blue paintbrush. There's my light orange paintbrush. I've got some extra paintbrushes waiting. The next thing I'd like to cover, and we'll cover it in another video in the future, and that is the rule of thirds. You've heard of it, you may know what it means, but it's the idea of dividing your format into 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what happens is you're getting this point right about there, on the third line there, on the third line there, and then let's say my horizon line is going to be on the third line there. So there's a point where these lines will cross. So I'm going to draw that in very lightly. Roughly speaking, that's going to be my horizon line, leaving the sky to really dominate the painting. Okay, so let's get that in. I'm going to pick up a lot of white. I'm going to paint with quite heavy paint, quite thickly. Okay, and keep an eye on it. I'm kind of going to turn the sky into a perspective opportunity, where you see what I'm doing? I'd have to turn the painting over for you to see. So I'm aiming my perspective lines down to this point here. When we come in with the trees and with the detail, I'm going to also use these 2 points. So let's kind of get going with this. The one thing I'd like to point out is that this is a sketch. It's a painting sketch, and you can do it at home. It's easy as anything. It's and follow the rule, follow the steps that I'm showing you, and have fun with it. Don't forget that what we've got is the painting is actually this way around. So that's what the painting's going to look like. I'm going to concentrate on painting it with my view in mind. Let's pick up some more white. Remember, white is a funny color because you need a lot of white. That's why most tubes and most brands are going to be, the white is going to be a bigger tube because you need a lot of white. Okay, I'm going to pick up some blue and start getting my blue darker at the top of the painting. I've just picked up a touch of water, and I'm really going to go for it now. You don't need to worry about blending it or making it all nice and smooth. You'll see as we go along layers and layers of paint being put on top of the acrylic because the acrylic dries so quickly. I want to have a lot of blue at the top, darker blue. Another thing that you'd want to remember is that clouds are all sorts of shapes. All sorts of shapes. You just have to go outside and have a look at cloud shapes, and they're never the same. They're never the same as they were before. They're changing all the time. So I'm just going to create a little bit of a feel of a cloud here. You can make it heavy if you want to. Make it like a rain cloud. Or you can make it wispy. I'm kind of blending the two ideas together. Clouds are lovely because it's the freedom to paint exactly what you want to paint. And there's a nice shape. You might notice how this is happening here. I'm painting the negative shape here. I'm actually not concentrating on the cloud. I'm painting the negative shape at the top around the cloud. Okay? So it's kind of toggling between the cloud and then the sky. So I'm going to go back to my position. And another thing that can be pointed out, I'm not really concentrating on getting my paint right to the edge. We're going to actually put a loose frame on this towards the end of our video, and you'll see how it will really come together with the frame. Okay, so we're back to painting the white of the sky, or the white of the clouds. What we're doing is we're painting the sky first, because I'm going to be putting trees on top here. Okay, so we're painting the sky first, then I'm going to switch to the warm color, which is this orange color. This is the cool color, which is your sky. We're switching then to the foreground, which will be an orange. I'm going to show you what we do there. My paint is a little bit watered down, and I'm going over the old sky. I'm actually painting it like 2 or 3 layers of paint, because this sky up here is totally dry already. Okay. And once again, I'm not deliberating about my shape. I'm just kind of dancing over the top here. Sometimes your cloud is going to be broken up. So you have this kind of broken up, broken edge, they call it sometimes, broken paint. Okay, so that's my paintbrush. It's getting a little bit muddy or dirty. Bring some blue back in, some dark blue, and bring some dark blue in again. Really, this is just a tonal sketch at the moment. It's light white, light blue, and darker blue. So there we go. Now I think the sky is looking okay, and we can now set that brush aside. Blue in the blue, and I'm going to now switch to my orange. And you're going to look at it and you're going to, wow, that's too orange. Yep, it is too orange. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my orange and put it with my blue, which is using the orangeness of orange and the blueness of blue, and mixing the two together, which gives me a kind of brown color. So now what I want to do is I want to test it out first. That's maybe a bit too brown. Okay, but it's okay as a distance. And I'm painting horizontally, kind of painting horizontally now, getting my horizon line in. I don't want it to be too brown. Ah, look at that, this is really going nicely. Neutral colors are something that can be spoken about at this point. This brown is actually a neutral color. And neutral colors are beautiful because you've got thousands and thousands of neutral colors. You might be able to see the graduation as we speak here, and we're actually only using 2 colors, which is really crazy. And now I'm going to get my perspective again. Not going to concentrate too much on objects down here. I might even have a little indication of a bluish color. It's kind of swinging across to green as a basic color. And I've waited for that top piece to dry so it breaks up. Very easy actually to do, very easy to do, and really fun. And remember, we're not using expensive equipment, we're not using a canvas. What happens now is I might like the finished painting, and what I'll do is then I'll use the reference of my own painting to paint onto a canvas, and that's also very nice. That's very nice to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the canvas over, the paper over, so I can show you what we've done up to now. Pick up some water. I'm almost ready to put the trees in. So this is what's happened up to now. And you can put definition in, some definition, but I'm not painting a pathway. I'm not painting anything really. I've just divided the sky from the foreground. So what I'm going to do now is I've got a lot of orange on my palette, but I need to get a little bit more blue. And now I really want to show you something that you may not know, and that is when you take the blue and the pure orange, you're going to end up with almost a black. I don't like using black as a paint in my paintings. I don't like using black. I like mixing my darks. Black is also not a color, actually. If you're referring to color, black is not a color. Now, sure, you can see that, how dark that has become. That's become really, really dark, that area there. And it's because I have got no white in it. Let me put some white in it, and then I'll show you this color actually is a gray. Okay. So this is going to be the start of my tree area. There will be a future video on how to draw trees, big, large format trees in your picture. But I'm going to start just getting the feel of where my tree wants to be. And again, I'm going to concentrate on my third line. Remember, I'm not really, it's a sketch. It's a sketch. It's like using colored pencils. Just getting my trees in there, and I'm placing them. The group of trees is on the third line. I'm going to have a small group of trees also on that third line. Don't be too afraid of having your colors mixing. A little bit of orange, a little bit of blue, and then your white. The nice part about this type of painting is that you don't have to concentrate on all the colors of the color wheel. You only have two. You only have two to worry about. So treat it like a sketch. It's still a sketch. And I have my smaller trees up here. It's a sketch, like I'm doodling with a pencil. And remember, I'm now upside down. I'm painting the picture upside down. Gives you an opportunity to see the painting the right way around. Okay. Now, what I need to do is I need to turn it back so I can see what I've done. Now, that's not so bad. That's actually looking nice. I love it. I love it. Okay, it's coming back to you again. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just play around with the tones, the light and the dark of these tones here. Don't forget, acrylic dries very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. You don't want the paint to be too wet either. It's not a watercolor painting. I'm just touching a little bit of water in there, like a little drop of water. Okay. Next thing we can talk about is the direction of my light. At this point in time, I haven't really focused on which side the light is coming from. Is it coming from your right hand side, or is it coming from your left hand side? So we can decide. I'll look at the painting again. Let's see. Okay, so I've decided my light can come from this side, which is your left hand side. So I'm going to lighten that side of my tree. Okay, just a little bit. Lighten this side of the tree. Okay, there we go. And of course your light comes from the top usually, and either left or right. So it doesn't matter. But I'm doing it from your left hand side. So now you'd already be ahead of me if you say, okay, well, where are your shadows? We're going to get there. We're going to get there. I'm washing my brush in water and just dab it off. I've got a lot of orange on here. So I'm just going to get some blue because I want my shadows to be really, really dark. And I don't even like using the word black and I don't like using the word white because they're not colors. Another thing I prefer to use the word neutral instead of brown. Neutral is it tells you that there's no intensity in the color. Yeah, I'm making a very, very dark color, dark tone. And I'm going to see what happens with this dark shadowed area. Okay, it's not a line, it's just a shadowed area. Okay, and I'm going to darken this side of the tree. So what we're doing is we're darkening this side of the darkening this side of the tree. And you can decide how much detail you want in. You could decide you want branches. You could decide to paint more carefully. When I say paint more carefully, I'm speaking of holding your brush in this fashion. Okay, what you'll notice is I'm actually holding my brush pretty much in the middle of my brush. And it's really not controllable. I don't have much control over my painting, my brush, I mean. Okay, we're getting there. Now, almost the last thing that we wanted to talk about is a little technique that I use. I'm going to pick up some dark color. Okay, maybe lighten it slightly. Now I'm going to show you what I do here. The painting's upside down for me. So I'm not trying to place these marks in anything, in any specific area. What I'm going to do is I'm taking my brush like that, and I'm just going to drag it across, and while I'm dragging it across, I'm going to twist my brush. And start in an area that you feel, okay, I'm more confident with this area. I wouldn't want to do it down at the bottom here. I'm going to do it up at the top. And then I'm going to see what the mark does. So here it goes. I'm going to put the brush down, and I'm going to just twist my brush like this. Okay, it might lift it and gives it a bit of the definition that I might be looking for. Taking my perspective lines, and I'm actually going to this third line here. I'm twisting my brush, dabbing, twisting, and then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to do it the other way and give myself a perspective line that runs there, and maybe another one. And I think that's very close to finished. Let me have a look at my own picture. There's some beautiful areas, some wonderful areas that I didn't try to paint too much. Okay, one more thing I want to show you is we can come back with a large brush. We can just warm up the sky a bit. I'm going to warm up the sky around about here. Okay, which is a bit of a dusty kind of feeling in the sky. You can see that I'm now going to very lightly dust the sky and warm up the top of the cloud. So there's my brush. Hardly got any paint. Hardly got any paint on it. It's warming up the sky. Okay. Oh, I think we have come to the end of that one. And if you like it, if you like the painting that you've done, then sign it. And I'll show you where I sign my painting. And sign it around about there. You could paint it in, or you could sign it with a pencil. I don't like signing my painting with a marker. I don't know why, but I don't like signing it with a marker. Then a Silton Lees. And then the very last thing I want to show you is what a sketch could look like. This is just a sketch, and I've got myself a little frame, just a piece of board like that. Get it at framer place. Normally they just give it away because it's now I can place this little frame wherever I want to. Okay, I have signed it, the painting, but imagine this. You paint it, put the frame wherever you want to. Actually, sometimes makes the picture, the painting better. Let's put it here for now, and I've had outer prepared, and that's what the painting looks like. Isn't that fun? That's what it looks like with the frame around. Frame does make a big difference. Unfortunately, they can be quite expensive. So we have the finished painting, and we've already seen quite a heavy frame that we put on here. Now I'll just show you, demonstrate a lighter frame. Lighter being the weight or the size of the actual wood of the frame. So that's what that would look like. Kind of capturing more of the picture, not cutting anything off. And of course, you can also, we're looking at the old inner that we had. Don't forget, you can also do it vertically like that. That also can work. You end up with two paintings. Isn't that fun? You end up with two paintings. Don't forget your rule of thirds. It's not comfortable to have the object, the subject matter, right in the middle of the painting. Have it off center, and that's another example of the same. So that's quite an interesting little painting there, right there. That's very interesting. Okay, thank you for watching.